most crypto traders lose money. And the reason why is that the way that most people invest in crypto is they see a token trending on social media, whether that's Twitter, YouTube, Reddit, or some other platform. They see the price is already pumping, so they rush to buy in, and maybe it goes up a little bit more, but then the price dips, maybe it continues to crash, and maybe it never recovers. And the focus of today's video is going to be to show you some strategies that I use to find tokens early before they actually start to pump or before they start to really move in full. And these are going to be strategies that focus on both on-chain fundamentals, they focus on tracking smart money, and they focus on a few other things that are all readily available on the internet for you to find if you know where to look. Welcome back to Dynamo DeFi. My name is Patrick. As a reminder, although I'll talk about several different tokens and cryptocurrencies as examples in this video, that's exactly what they are. They're examples. This isn't an endorsement or suggestion that you buy any of them. This is an educational video about how to do your own research. Now let's get into it. Before I get started, I want to remind you that this video is specifically about how to find new gems. It's not about how to evaluate those tokens to decide whether they're a good investment. I do, however, have lots of videos about that. I have a playlist on my channel called Learn DeFi Here. And basically this goes through different strategies for finding and evaluating coins. So check out this playlist for more videos on how to actually evaluate those tokens once you find them. All right, so let's talk about some strategies for finding tokens. And the first thing we're going to use is we're going to look at on-chain fundamentals. And my favorite website for this is DeFiLlama.com. There's some other websites that are great, but DeFi Llama is my go-to. I've been using it for almost 3 years now, and I reference it all the time on this channel. And even though many people use it, a lot of people don't know all the intricate details of it, and they don't know how to actually use it properly. So the point of today's video is going to be to show you some strategies that you can use to actually use DeFi Llama appropriately to find tokens before the price has started to move in full. And so if you go to the front page of DeFi Llama here, you will see a list of all of the protocols listed on DeFi Llama. These are hundreds and hundreds of DeFi applications. It's going to include everything from major applications in crypto like Uniswap, like Lido. Those are both top 50 coins, all the way down to coins that most of you have probably never heard of. And it's going to show some fundamentals here. By default, it'll show you TVL, that stands for total value locked, and that's basically deposits in the protocol. And then it will show you fees and revenue, and that's actually how much money the protocol is generating. And I'll go through exactly what those are in a minute. However, I would say up front that TVL gets a bad rap sometimes, and that's because it tends to be highly correlated with price, but it actually can be very useful to figure out the directional change of whether a protocol is growing or shrinking. For example, we can see here that EigenLayer, just to name one example, the TVL is up 4.88% in 1 day, 5% in 7 days, and up a whopping 72.98% in 1 month. And EigenLayer actually doesn't have a token. However, if we were to click into it, we could see that yes, the TVL is growing substantially over the past few months. And if this had a token, that would be a good sign that this protocol was gaining adoption. And then one thing that I'll also share here is that one of the common issues with TVL is that sometimes the TVL is only going up because the price of the assets deposited are going up. So in the case of something like EigenLayer, the assets deposited are Ethereum tokens. So what you want to do is there's this toggle here on DeFi Llama that changes it from USD to ETH. And this actually tells you whether the price is going up in terms of just dollars or whether there's actually new ETH being deposited to the protocol. And as we can see here that if anything, the chart actually looks better in terms of ETH, where it's gaining TVL at least as fast in terms of ETH. And so that's the first way that you would use DeFi Llama to find protocols, is you want to find things that are actively gaining TVL. And one way you could do that is you could sort by 7-day change or sort by 1 month change. What I usually like to do is I like to sort by 7-day change, and then I want to look for protocols that are growing more on the 1 month time frame than they are on the 7-day time frame. And the reason for that is that basically means that it is growing steadily over the course of the past month, where if for example, some of this one grew more in 7 days than 1 month, that basically means that it was actually down earlier in the month and then grew all in the past week. One thing you'll notice here, though, is that some of these protocols are probably not what we're looking for. This one, $0.6 TVL, so less than $1. Some of these have a few hundred thousand. This one has 42,000. This one has 2,700. And don't get me wrong, there could be some good gems there if you are willing to look. However, know that any protocols that are that small and new are going to be less battle tested, less likely to have survived people trying to exploit them in the past. And generally speaking, less TVL means that it's being trusted with less money. So what I like to do here is I always like to filter by TVL range, and you can set a minimum that you're comfortable with. For example, we could do $1 million, and then you can see here it's going to be a little more reasonable because we're only finding protocols that are $1 million. Let's say $10 million of TVL. So that's not tiny anymore, right? We're not looking at protocols that have like $100,000. However, we are still relatively small, where we're not just looking at these billion dollar platforms. And you can see here that the 7-day changes are now a little more reasonable. Some of them are still growing substantially. We're looking at, for example, 157% on this one here. I don't know much about this platform. This one's 154%. This one's 106%. This one is 68.6%, almost 69%, and then so on and so forth. And again, what you want to look for here is you want to find things that are growing more on the 1 month than on the 7 days. So Zero Lend would qualify, Fluxbeam would qualify, EtherFi would qualify. And now let's look into one of them. So you click into it, we'll click on Fluxbeam, and then you can see here that yes, it has that pattern. And then next thing you would want to check would be, is it going up in terms of just USD or in terms of Sol? Because this platform is on Solana. And you would say, okay, yes, it is going up in terms of both USD and Sol. And that would be a sign that this could be something you would add to your research list to actually research later. You still have to dive into, for example, does it even have a token? What are the tokenomics of that token? So on, so forth. Next thing you can use on DeFi Llama is you can do that exact same process I just mentioned, but you can do it for blockchains. So all of these were specific protocols, but you can also do it for entire blockchains. And so to do that, you go over to the chain section over here on the left, and we can do this again. We can sort by 7-day change. Unfortunately, you can't filter by TVL here, but you can see again, there's some chains with very little total value locked. But we see, for example, this one called Pego. I'm not familiar with that one, but you can see it has 28 million and it's up 56.85% in the past 7 days. We can see TON is up is at 16.44 million, is up 47%, and so on and so forth. Let's take a look at this one, Alephium, and see how this TVL looks. So you can see here that it is growing, and what you can do here, sometimes it lets you look at it in terms of the native token, sometimes it doesn't, but what you can do is you can actually add other stats, such as the market cap of the token here, to see whether it's growing with it. And you can see here, yes, this is probably being mostly driven by the market cap of this token going up, and that's driving the TVL increase. So let's look for another chain. We'll sort by 7-day change again. And now let's take a look at, let's see, I want one that's a little bit bigger. Let's take a look at SWI. So SWI is $376.7 million. TVL is going up in USD. TVL is also going up in terms of SWI tokens. So it's at an all-time high today, both in terms of USD and SWI. So that's good. And then one thing you'll notice here for the larger chains is that you can add all sorts of other stats to this graph. And this is really powerful. I would say the most powerful tool really in DeFi for evaluating blockchains based on fundamental analysis, because some of these other stats we can add, for example, are volume. So that's going to be activity on decentralized exchanges on the chain. And so now we can say, okay, SWI is going up in TVL, there's new deposits, and there's also more economic activity happening because the DEX volume is increasing. You can also add something like stablecoins. This particular chain, SWI, only has $5 million of stablecoins, but that's something else I would want to look at as well. I actually have an entire video about why you should look at the stablecoin deposits on a chain. But generally speaking, you want to look for all of these activity measures to be going up. And TVL, I would say, can be enough. It's probably not enough on its own. You want TVL in conjunction with either volume or stablecoin deposits going up, and then that can be a sign that it's worth researching further. And there's a lot of other features on DeFi Llama as well. However, I think in terms of finding gems, these strategies will be a great place for you to start. Next strategy for finding protocols is going to be to look at upcoming catalysts and then figure out based on those catalysts which protocols can benefit. And to do this, we're going to go to a calendar for crypto events called Coindar. Great, useful website. And there's some other good calendars as well, but I like Coindar. I find it helpful. And what you can do here is you probably want to filter by category, because you can see here, this is tons of events. Some of them are AMAs, some of them are community calls and listings. A lot of those things like listings on smaller exchanges, AMAs, they're not really going to be likely to move the price, but something like an upgrade to a protocol's mainnet could actually have an effect on the entire protocol ecosystem. So we're going to look at updates, we're going to look at releases, and I'm going to search now. And so we can see here, I'm not familiar with this token, but there's a system upgrade. We see there's a mainnet launch. So that could be something where, okay, maybe, there's not much history for this, mainnet V2. But, maybe this is a protocol that's not as well known, but that could be something that was worth taking a look at. I don't know anything about it myself, but maybe that's something that's worth taking a look at to decide whether it's whether this mainnet launch or V2 launch could actually be a catalyst for more adoption. Let's keep going. We can see that there's some other platform updates. Again, any of these could be things that would be worth looking into. We see that, for example, there's a marketplace upgrade on Vulcan Forged. That could be interesting. Mobile wallet upgrade. That's probably not going to have a massive impact on price, but it does show some development in the ecosystem. We see a new features being revealed on Gods Unchained. So if you were into gaming cryptos, for example, you might look at this and say, okay, there's going to be a new feature released in this game. That's something that should be on my radar. New game being launched on Vulcan Forged. And here's a great example. iPoor, DeFi protocol, you would see, okay, they have a leveraged borrowing launch and a fixed lending and borrowing launched sometime in January. So phenomenal. That's a new feature being launched. And what this could tell you would be that this would be a DeFi protocol that you might want to research to figure out whether they had other fundamentals, other features that would make it something you wanted to invest in. So all of these things we're looking at today are just ways to get protocols on your radar before they actually start to move and before they're dominating social media. And so that's Coindar. You can kind of get the idea. If you click into any of these things, for example, we'll click into this iPoor thing, then you can see it has some more details, and it will actually have a link to the announcement from the protocol about the specific event, so you can actually do some more due diligence. All right, so now we've got two strategies. Let's find some more. Next one that we're going to use is we are going to look at smart money. So smart money is basically wallets that have been identified as having a solid history of trading on chain, and then we're going to look at what they're buying. And the idea with this is that if someone's been good in the past, they're likely to be good in the future, or at least more likely than the average person. And also, if they're a whale, if they're some sort of insider, then you might not know what information they have, but they probably have information that you don't. And so you can glean something from looking at what they're buying. And we're going to use a few different tools for this. And this is going to be the only tool I use today that is actually not free. So ChainEdge is a service I subscribe to. I have no affiliation with them. I don't even have a referral link, but it's best service I've found for actually tracking smart money buys. So I'm going to show you what ChainEdge looks like, and then I'm going to show you some strategies you can use to try to replicate this with free tools. And so ChainEdge, basically what it does is they've identified wallets that are in the top 0.1% of decentralized exchange traders. Pretty good, right? Out of 1,000 people, these people would be the one best. And then basically what it does is it shows the things that they're net buying and selling over a certain time period. So for example, I'm going to go to swap summary here. And it might take a little second. Okay, there we go. So we have the changes. I'm going to filter to get rid of Ethereum and stablecoins because that's not really what we're looking for. We're looking for smaller projects that could be bullish. And then basically you can sort by the net inflows over 7 days, over 30 days, etc. And so I'm going to look at 7 days here, and we can see what these smart money wallets are buying net. And for example, there's Link, there's Maker, there's Pepe, Synapse, Lido, Troll, not familiar with that one, Rollbit, Metis, FXS, Winner, Ondo. I just did a video on Ondo recently. And so basically what this is doing is it's telling you that cumulatively, and you can see the number of addresses interacting over here. For example, 19 of these smart money wallets are trading Link, and net they are buying a lot of Link. So that's a really good sign. Same thing with this Winner token. That's a gambling type application on Arbitrum. You can see 5 addresses interacted, and then the past 7 days, they net accumulated $103,000 worth of Winner tokens. And for example, you can then click into this, and you can see more details. For example, whether these wallets are accumulating or selling over time. Again, really like this tool. And then you can also see the specific buys, and you can see the specific wallets here. So if you wanted to see who was buying it and then track them in the future, then you could see, okay, most of these buys actually came from this one wallet who is tagged as a gem spotter. And you can see that this accumulation has been happening substantially since the start of the year. And it's mostly from this one gem spotter wallet. And then you can even click into it and see some more details about what this person is actually holding. And so ChainEdge is what I usually use to actually find these smart money buys. However, if you don't want to subscribe to it, which is understandable because it does cost money, there's some other things you can use to replicate this on your own. So one tool that's useful is DBank. DBank is great for tracking your own portfolio. However, they also have a ranking. So if you go over here on the left and click on Web3 social ranking, then it's going to show you people on here that have a large number of followers. And keep in mind that these wallets are already being tracked, so maybe they're not particularly hidden. However, you can still take a look at what they're buying, and let's be real, even if that doesn't necessarily put you on the absolute cutting edge, that still puts you ahead of 90% of people. I mean, maybe even 95% of people, right? What percent of crypto traders are actually doing any sort of wallet tracking? I would say it's very small. And so, for example, we can go here. I don't want to look at the top one just because that's too many people, but let's go down to the bottom and then start looking at some of these smaller wallets. Well, I say smaller. This one has $2.5 million. This one has $11.3 million. And then basically you can click in here and you can actually see their portfolios and you can see what they're buying. Look at this actually. This person, I don't think this is the same wallet as before. This person also has Winner as one of their top tokens. I promise this video isn't a Winner shill, but that is interesting, right? They have this RSTK token, they have RBX, they have Grail. And then what you can do if you want to actually follow it is you can click on follow, and you'll have to, of course, sign into DBank, but it's totally free to sign in. But you can start following this wallet to actually track them. And one thing you want to look for here is you want to find people who have investment strategies that are similar to you. For example, if you're the sort of person who is buying low cap DeFi projects, this might be a wallet that would be worth tracking because they've got some smaller DeFi projects and they have a decent amount of them. This other wallet here, for example, it seems like they mostly have this Stone token. So, well, they've got a lot of tokens on Ethereum. They've got this SAVM token. They've got a lot of RAT BTC. So this person maybe is a little more risk averse. They've mostly got ETH and BTC. So if that's what you're into, you could track whether they were buying or selling ETH and BTC. But if you really want smaller tokens, you want something like this, a wallet that's actually actively accumulating decent amounts of these smaller tokens. And then if you decide you want to track it, you can copy the addresses, and then a great website for tracking is Arkham. DBank is good too, but I really like Arkham because it's going to provide some really nice visuals, such as these wallets' counterparties, their histories of inflows and outflows, their swaps. Then it's even going to show you their balance history in the wallet, so you can track whether this is a one-off. You can track whether they're actually a good trader or not, right? You can see whether they've just been depositing money and that's why they have so much money, or if they successfully traded their way towards having a lot of funds. And that's how you can track smart money to find new gems. Final strategy that I want to show today is that you can look at what's in the portfolios of major venture funds. And I know this is going to be controversial because people are going to say, well, if you buy something that, for example, a fund is a major holder of, then they can dump on you. However, I'll make the case that a lot of top performing coins did actually have major backers, and you have to look at things like the tokenomics unlock schedule before deciding whether those funds are likely to dump on you, sell the tokens on unlock, or whether, for example, they might be vested for a full, or they might be waiting to vest for a full year. And in that case, maybe it's not an imminent risk. But to do this, we're going to go to DeFi Llama again, and we're going to click on raises here. And then we'll click on overview. And so what this is going to do is it's going to show you the most recent crypto raises. And here you can see that there's a lot of new ones, and this could be a great place to start on its own. A lot of these probably don't have tokens yet, but you can go here and you could say, for example, okay, this protocol Cadence just raised some money, and then this, they don't actually have the amount, so that's a bad example. This Root protocol just raised $10 million seed round. I don't know if they have a token yet, but that might be one that was worth looking into. And then you can see over here who's actually investing in them. And you can see, for example, they've got a whole bunch, but they've got some names that I recognize, like Anchor Protocol is investing. They've got Shima Capital, Gate Labs, DFG, a few others. And then you can also sort by investor. And so, for example, let's search by investor up here. I'm going to search for things that Coinbase Ventures invested in, and I'll show you why. If we go back in time, let's go way back, then we can see some of the things that Coinbase Ventures invested in have done very well. So to find a few, we have, for example, SEI. Let's look at how that's done. We've covered that on the channel before. SEI has, over the past year, done phenomenally well, up from less than 10 cents up to over 60 cents. So if you're looking for projects that actually have major backers and they've got these funds that have done due diligence, then you could look at something like SEI and say Multicoin Capital led the round. Then they've got Coinbase Ventures, Delphi Digital, lots of other familiar names. That is a sign that that's something that could be worth looking into. And then what you can do is you can actually come forward and look at some of these newer investments that Coinbase Ventures has made and figure out if they have tokens and figure out whether those tokens are at a reasonable valuation. Again, you still have to do research on these things, guys. But you could say, for example, something like Polymer Labs. I don't know much about that, but they just raised this week, Series A, $23 million. Layer 2 that employs the inter-blockchain communication protocol and Optimism stack to serve as the interoperability hub for Ethereum. Cool. Sounds interesting. Invested by Coinbase Ventures, Placeholder, Digital Currency Group, and a few others. And so what I would do then is I would say, do they have a token? Do they have any adoption? Who are their partners? Are they actually on mainnet, or are they still developing the product? And so on and so forth. All the usual questions that you would ask. And then you could go down and then look at these investments from December, November, so on and so forth. And that's going to give you a lot to work with, right? And that's going to put you way ahead of the pack, because what most people do, what most investors do, is they don't look on here and say, okay, August 2022, Coinbase is investing in SEI. What they do is, when the price goes up here, they hear about it because everyone's making videos about it. And that's when they start buying, right? You want to be the person who's actually able to learn about it, once they've launched, and they're in this phase here when they're in accumulation, and you can actually find out about it because you've done your research and you see that Coinbase Ventures and these other major backers had invested in it previously. And those are just a few strategies to get you started with finding new crypto gems yourself. If you want more tools for doing your own research, as well as to find the trends and new protocols that I find interesting, then check out my free newsletter, dynamodefi.substack.com. Send it out once a week, and I include things like trends, on-chain analysis, as well as a tool spotlight that you can use for your crypto research. Again, that's dynamodefi.substack.com, link in the description. And for more videos like this one, be sure to like and subscribe. Until next time, this is Dynamo DeFi.